Go.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to our first regular season post-game show here on the DoDcast. I'm your host, or one of your co-hosts, Ricky Keeler, one of the co-editors here at District on Deck, and I'm joined by Ron Juckett, my other co-editor. Ron, how are you?
I'm pretty good, Ricky. How are you?
I'm doing good. An exciting first game. It wasn't pretty for the first few innings, but the Nats find a way to get it done in dramatic fashion. We're going to go through each part of the game. Of course, we want to hear from you, so log on to the Twitter at District on Deck, or if you're listening on the YouTube channel, feel free to send us a comment, and we'll get your thoughts throughout the show. But initial thoughts, Ron, on opening day.
Goodness, it wasn't pretty at times, but they look good. They really look good. And you know what struck me the most was the crowd. They were really into it. They were really, really into it, and I think it does help. Of course, the pinch hit homer from Lind didn't hurt anything, and Strasburg's performance didn't really hurt anything. But overall, I'd say it wasn't a cheap win. That was a quality win for them against a team that can hit.
The hats off to the fans. A sellout crowd, as Ron mentioned, and two of our writers were there, Frank and Drew, so we hope they enjoyed the game as well. Let's talk about Stephen Strasburg first off. He goes 7 innings, 2 runs, 6 hits, 3 strikeouts. Not the strikeout kind of day you would normally get from Stephen Strasburg, but the ability to get the ground ball outs. He had 12 of them today. And to put that in perspective, last season, just 3 outings of 10 or more ground ball outs. So a lot of positive things from Strasburg in his 4th career opening day start. Oh,
it's the stuff you absolutely want to see. You want him to pitching to contact, and the defense around him was pretty good today too, especially Trey Turner. So I don't mind the lack of strikeouts as long as he's letting them go on the ground and the defense behind him is picking up. So this is absolutely what you wanted to see from Strasburg. A low-stress outing except for that 1 inning. What did he throw, 90, 89 pitches?
85.
85 pitches over 6 innings? 7.
Over 7
innings, pardon me. And that's exactly what you want to see from him. Everything what you wanted to see. His location was good today. His speeds were good today. Even with the bases empty from the stretch, Ricky, he hit 98 several times.
He had the adrenaline going early. A couple 97-mile-an-hour fastballs mixed in the 98 to Yelich. First 3 innings, he was absolutely dominant. Bit of trouble, and I thought Ron was mainly because he fell in love with the fastball. Real Muto hit a double off the wall, and then first pitch swinging Yelich, first pitch swinging Stanton. And all of a sudden, the Marlins have a 1-0 lead. And it just seemed like right at that point, he struggled with location and then tried to mix in off speed with Ozuna and left the pitch over the plate for an RBI single.
Yeah, or he might have started to tire a bit in the 4th inning, too. That was the 1 inning they worked him hard. And the second run that came home, it was an off-speed pitch in the dirt. I believe the Masson gun had him at 81 on it. But he regrouped, and that's what you got to do in those situations. It's not always going to work. He regrouped and then cruised his last 3 innings.
Yeah, absolutely. Marlins, by the way, did not have a hit after the 5th inning. So all things considering, great job by Nats pitching today. But we'll talk about the bullpen in a little bit. Let's talk about the offense first.
Okay.
Let's go a little bit backtrack here. And it looked early on in those first 5 innings, it kind of looked like the Nats missed a lot of opportunities against Volquez. They get the first 2 men out in the first inning, and then rare strikeouts by Harper and Murphy, and then Zimmerman strikes out. And then the 4th inning, get the first 2 men on with base hits by Murphy and Zimmerman, and then Ward strikes out. Drew grounds in the first of 2 inning double plays. It just seemed like the Nats had Volquez on the ropes, but the first 5 innings couldn't find a way to get that big hit when they needed it.
Well, they really had him on the ropes until Harper fouled off on the hit and run. I mean, they ended up pulling off the double steal anyway in the first. And then when Harper struck out, I think Volquez just kind of found another gear there. Didn't he strike out 4 in a row at that point?
Mm-hmm.
So Volquez found his groove, and the Nats weren't as patient at the plate. It was not a good day for Jason Worth, by the way. And by the time, they really couldn't solve Volquez at all, which kind of surprises me why they yanked him so early.
I did love the aggressiveness, though, by the Nationals in the first inning. Was kind of surprised to see Adam Eaton bat second because you're bringing the lefties together. But Baker brought up a great point in the pregame. The Marlins do not have any left-handed bullpen relievers, and that backfired on them today. And it's just a glimpse of maybe things to come when you see Turner and Eaton wreaking havoc on the bases. More often than not, first inning excluded from today, that's going to lead to run scoring opportunities.
Well, he walked twice and also had a hit. Took a lot of pitches, which he would have swung at in spring training. Took healthy leads off first base. I saw that they that Masson had the lead toy, how long the lead was off at first base. So as you were right, they were much more aggressive, and I think most days that would have paid off. You got the bad break on the Harper strikeout and all that, but still, Eaton is doing exactly what they wanted to do and looked decent in center field as well.
Yeah, Eaton had a great day. You mentioned the pitches that he was able to see. I think he saw a total of 23 pitches today. And if that's the case, and then he gets 5 pitches per at bat, I mean, the Nats would take that in a heartbeat.
That would lead the league.
Not going to happen like that every game, but you absolutely take it. So we get to the 6th inning, and of course, Bryce Harper does what Bryce Harper does, the first kaboom of the season, a solo shot crushed to right off David Phelps, his 5th opening day homer, his 4th opening day with a homer. Just when the lights shine the brightest, Bryce Harper seems to deliver, and he makes the catch the inning before that probably saved the game.
It was they were so used to. We talked a bit about this on Twitter about the winds blowing out harsh from right to left, and the flags looked like they were blowing that way too. But I mean, Stanton had to play in the inning before that kind of caught him off guard. And you kind of wonder when Harper hit the walls, like, did he hurt that shoulder? Because he hit hard enough that he knocked his sunglasses off. But boy, that swing! Oh my goodness, that swing! That was just something else. And no doubter, 419 feet.
I wonder what I can get this, what the launch angle on that one was. A lot of talk on the Masson broadcast say about launch angle, but it just put it this way. When Harper crushes one, it's a really high launch angle.
That was perfect. And what about, I'm sure you're getting to this, but Lynn's homer, which put the game away, was really, and that was hit out to deeper center.
And we'll get into that right now. I think that was a fantastic decision that Dusty Baker made in the 7th inning. Matt Wieters gets a 2-out single, first hit of the day. He had a rough day going into that, but to keep that inning alive. And Adam Lynn, 5 for 14 with 2 homers coming in against Phelps. Maybe Dusty looks at that matchup or not. Maybe Lynn's just the go-to guy when you need a big hit. But for Lynn to have that experience and gets the count 2-0, gets a pitch he wants, and boom, Nats get the lead.
Yeah, no, you had said that at the time on Twitter that was the right move, and he just got the right pitch to hit, and he drilled it. He just took advantage of his opportunity and did it, and that was all the Nats needed.
Your first day as a Washington National, and I think everybody had good debuts today. Eaton had a nice debut, we mentioned. Lynn picks up the big home run, and Wieters gets a hit. All things considered, everybody that was new to this team contributed in this win. And
Treinen just looked the part of a closer, didn't he?
Absolutely. I mean, you look at – I think, though, that for him, the big thing was that 8th inning against Tazawa, who had no command. They could have got more than one run, but to get that run on the Murphy RBI single, he had a 2-hit day today. You take it. Treinen has a little bit more comfort on the mound, and he got Stanton fooled with a sinker down and in. Then he gets Bohr to strike out and then wins the battle with Ozuna. And you could just tell there was a different confidence level for Treinen goes to Saturday afternoon at the Naval Academy.
Well, I think on the Bohr at bat, Bohr was halfway to first base when they rang him up on strike 2. Mm-hmm. And you knew at that point that Bohr was going to have to swing at anything that was in the area code. Because when you show up an umpire like that, the next pitch is a strike. You better be swinging. And he did.
Yeah, absolutely. Bohr was 0 for 4, 3 groundouts today behind Stanton, and that definitely plays a factor. But X factor that won't get discussed a lot because a lot of attention will be on Treinen. Sammy Solis. That was good. A really quick 8th inning he had. He got D Gordon to ground out to the pitcher, which Zimmerman saved him from a huge error on. Realmuto to fly out to right, and Yelich to ground out to short. So top of the order, and he got that done in 8 pitches. That was really impressive. It
really was, and he may be the surprise coming out of spring training along with Glover. They warmed up Kelly and didn't use him, and I'm surprised at that. Well, they didn't need him because Solis pitched so well, but that was the knock about what they would do with Sean Kelly, trying to keep him fresh, is not warm him up unless they intended to pitch him. And Solis just took care of business, and as you said, 8 pitches.
Here's my thought on Kelly. Was he warmed up in that situation to face Stanton? Because he has great numbers against Stanton in his career.
I'm sure it was. If it wasn't.
So I don't have a problem in that situation if that's the case, because I think Dusty, 7th, 8th inning, you're going to see this a lot. He's going to play the matchups, especially early on with the bullpen that he has without the long man. You're going to see Romero against lefties. You're going to see Glover in the middle innings. So he's going to try to 8th inning most nights, because you're not going to get 7 innings from Strasburg every game. I mean, you'll take it.
No.
But to get that opportunity, I think Dusty's going to just find out early what he's got, and I think Kelly would have been the right matchup play.
Yeah, you got to play with your strengths, and right now that's the depth. The bullpen is actually much deeper than anyone thought it would be, and it showed today. And like I said, going back to Trinan, he just showed such great confidence in what you wanted him to do. And, he was able to change speeds. He got Stanton on that 98-mile-an-hour sinker that jammed him, and then got Boer on a 91-mile-an-hour pitch. I forget what the last pitch of the game was, but he was able to mix his stuff in there well. And Solis, with that big crowd behind him, has been, acting like he'd been there before, and that's exactly what you want to see.
97-mile-an-hour sinker, that last pitch to Ozuna, absolutely filthy, got him looking for the win. So again, we want to hear from you. Feel free to send us comments on our YouTube channel. Ron's monitoring those, so if you send us a comment, send your thoughts on the game, what you thought of anything. We'd love to hear from you. Tweet us on Twitter at District on Deck. Tweet me on Twitter at Rickinator555. Throughout the season, we want to get you involved in these post-game shows. So if you have a comment, please feel free to send it and continue the conversation.
Absolutely. And so the totals for this one, Ricky: 4 runs, 9 hits, no errors for the Nationals. 2 runs, 6 hits, no errors for Miami. Strasburg gets the win. He's obviously 1-0. Phelps took the loss at 0-1, and he was one of Miami's big offseason pickups this year too. And he pitched 2 innings, and that second inning was one too long. And of course, as we said, Trinan gets the win. Elsewhere in the National League East, the Mets lead the Braves 6-0 in the bottom of the 8th inning with 2 out. If you're watching this live, and one of you is. And just the start of things in Cincinnati, the Phillies lead the Reds 1-0 in the top of the first on opening day. And this is the only final in a full slate of games elsewhere, including the Red Sox leading the Pirates 5-2 at Fenway. So go ahead.
So let's get into a couple more topics conversation. Defensively, Nats had a good game on defense, as Ron mentioned. No errors made. Harper had the great play in right field. But I think the star of the day defensively is Trey Turner. He had a lot of balls hit to him today. The one that stands out to me the most, taking the base hit away from Echeverria in the 5th. And that's a big moment as well, because Volquez went 2 for 2 today. And the way the Marlins had all the momentum going, the way Turner was able to get into the hole and make that play. He also, I think, got a backhanded stop on Yelich, which isn't exactly the easiest guy to throw out at first base. He had a very impressive first game at short. Not that hasn't played short in the majors before. First game of the season, first test as the full-time shortstop, and he delivered.
First opening day for him, period, in the major leagues, regardless of what position he's playing. And he plays with the poise that you would see from someone who is 5 or 6 years older. Nothing fazed him. He dove when he had to. He read balls well off the bat. It was kind of a gray day in Washington today. He did what he had to do, and he had a good read on things. And he looked confident. He didn't look nervous. Remember, on the first play of spring training, he threw the ball so hard he threw it away and had an error. He just was absolutely everything you'd expect him to be and more his first game at shortstop.
Now, the news before today, which we want to get into before we look at Wednesday's matchup. Anthony Rendon not in the lineup today. Dusty Baker made the decision to him down and take the advantage of the day off. Stephen Drew played third base. You mentioned 2 inning double plays. Now, it's not a big deal. Rendon should play Wednesday, all things considered. But you look at the impact, Ron, that Rendon has in this lineup. Before that, Wieters single in the 7th. The bottom of the order, 6 through 9, did not have a hit today. So you look at the depth in this lineup. Rendon's a key piece. Otherwise, you're putting Ryan Zimmerman 5th. And ideally, that's not what you want to do.
You certainly don't want to put Zim fifth, but it worked out. He had the 2 hits today. Worth did not look good. He swung on some pitches that weren't even close. And you're absolutely right about Rendon. I mean, they need him in there. They need all those pieces of that puzzle to be playing. But the good news was that Wieters finally reached base after a while because he didn't look good his first couple of bats. And as we talked about earlier, they had chances and couldn't take advantage of them. And sometimes, a lot of times they'll just come back to bite you. It didn't today. So yes, they need Rendon back on Wednesday, and Drew's timing didn't look all that good to me today. Did it to you?
He had a couple of good at-bats. He had the 8-pitch at-bat in the 4th inning, which was the first double play. But all things considered, he did not look right in this game, especially base loaded, went out in the 8th. You wanted to at least put the ball in play and get another run on the board, or at least put it in the air, I should say. He did put the ball in play. So not what you want to see from Stephen Drew in that regard. The other big news, and this was kind of floated under the radar during the game, and we wanted to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Zuckerman from Masson Sports wrote about it, so you can go to massonsports.com and check it out. Joe Ross is not coming up April 9th unless there's an injury. There's a rule by Major League Baseball that once you get sent out of the minors, you have to stay there 10 days unless there's a DL stint. So for all who thought, and we thought too, that Joe Ross was coming back April 9th, that's not happening. I mean, you're more likely now to have Jeremy Guthrie as the 5 starter next Saturday or next Sunday in Philadelphia than Joe Ross. And that's you wrote about this before the game today, what the Ross demotion means. This is even puts more puzzle than Joe Ross could be down there for a while.
Yeah, this was, to me, it struck me as more of, let's go through the obvious situations. With Michael A. Taylor having to deal with the untimely passing of his father, he did not get a full camp in. And I'm sure that the Nationals want to see him and Wilmer Difo, see which one is better for the team in the long run, and they'll eventually get that spot. But so you had Ross had the options open, so they sent him down. But we talked about this way back when we started doing the DoDcast. The Nationals kind of let Ross know they weren't real thrilled with his year last year, and his durability and work ethic. I didn't see any of that watching his starts this spring, but something obviously has struck a chord with somebody, because this was more than just for an audition. I mean, this I believe sent a message. If you don't do what we ask you to do, you're not going to be on this team. And if you go back through, if it's Guthrie, that's going to have to be the 5th starter. Now they do have the off day tomorrow, and then you see Gio and Roark and Gio for the rest of this series, and then it's Scherzer. Yeah, I guess you're going to need him by the 5th, by the 9th, wouldn't you? So.
Yeah, there was something along the lines of, when you look at Zuckerman wrote, they don't need a 5th starter after April 9th until April 22nd. So you can make the decision to either go to Guthrie or just go 4-man, which I don't think I would do. And now you're going 4-man without a long man, and that creates even more problems.
You need a long man if you go 4, that's for sure. But yeah, you need a long man if you go 4. But no team is going to do 4 at this point.
So while we looked at anything else opening day round before we talk a little bit about Wednesday's matchup?
Like I said, I was impressed with how the crowd was into it, despite the fact that we kept reading during the game that the ATM machines were broken and there were long lines for this so opening day wasn't as clean as what they thought. I think you can take a lot of positives away from everything today, especially how Strasburg performed. I've kind of harped on him all winter that he needs to learn how to be a pitcher and not a thrower. And what you saw today was a pitcher. I mean, yes, you're still going to rack up those high strikeout games when they're swinging and missing and stuff. But Strasburg pitched to contact, and it worked well behind him. And I think once the full lineup is there and ready, I think the Nationals just have a tremendous potential for an historic offense.
And I'll bring up this point in opening day as well. Ryan Zimmerman, I know all the talk about launch angles. 2 hits is 2 hits. He had a ball in the first inning that, if it's a few inches the other way, it's a 2 RBI double. I thought he looked good today. Again, you don't want to have him hit 5th on every day.
They got
all things considered. And all things considered, game for him, and then he has the single in the 8th, which Bryce Harper is not going to run there. Stanton would have threw him out by a mile. But all things considered, an impressive day and in a tough spot for Zimmerman to hit behind Murphy, where they're not going to pitch to Murphy because Zimmerman's going to have to prove it, and I think he did that today.
Absolutely. An Al Red Sox fan who has torn himself away from the Red Sox-Pirates game says hello to both of us. Yeah, I think that was this big surprise for me, that they dared to stick him that high in a position where he could have failed, and he succeeded. Also, I thought that Adam Eaton adjusted well during the game in center field. The first couple fly balls he was kind of iffy on. Remember, because of those winds in Florida, they're not used to playing in a ballpark that's not overly windy. And for Eaton, it's a whole new league and everything. The Pirates just scored 3. So, I thought that both of those gambles kind of, even though Eaton was going to play center field, Dusty played his hunches like he did with the Lind homer, and they paid off.
So let's look at Wednesday's matchup real quickly. It is 7:05 Eastern first pitch. You catch it on Masson, 106.7 The Fan on the radio. Fox Sports Florida has, if you're down in Florida and root for the Nats, that's the Marlins channel. Ron will be here live tweeting it, and I believe Ron has the post game.
Yes.
Afterwards, so yes. That should be fun. Dan Straley makes his Marlins debut. Roark, who, of course, makes his first start of the season coming off the World Baseball Classic. He looked pretty good in his first exhibition. Didn't get a chance to pitch Friday because of the rainout in the scheduled exhibition. So a little bit of rust for Roark that he'll have to work off of. And this should be an interesting matchup going up against a guy like Straley, who had a pretty good end of the season last year, 10 wins in the second half.
You could have made the argument that Straley should have been their opening day starter. He had the best pure numbers of everyone. Now, Volquez obviously had earned that, but Straley is just as good. And everyone will be fresh because there's no game tomorrow. So hopefully, for the Nats, you get another 7 innings out of Roark, and you get in the same situation that you're in today, where you need to go to one other pitcher and then try it, and then you're pretty much all set.
Give you a pick to click on the Nats side for that one. Matt Wieters, small sample size, yes. 3 for 4 with 2 solo home runs.
That's pretty impressive.
Really the only guy that's had a lot of experience against Straley. Rendon hit a home run against him as well. He's 1 for 2. He faced the Nats last year on June 2nd at Nats Park. 7 innings, 3 runs, 2 hits, 4 strikeouts, and 3 walks. He got the no decision, but the Reds ended up winning that game. And then June 4th, 2 runs, 2 hits over 7 in a Red 6-3 win. So Straley had 2 good outings against Washington last year, so that won't be an easy one.
It will not be easy, but the good news is that Rendon should be back, and so that we finally get a chance to see what this lineup can do all together. In an atmosphere, it'd be curious to try to see what the atmosphere is Wednesday night. Today was a party, a very loud party. Will we get a bad weather April game of 15,000 people, or is the place going to be jammed most of the year to support the Nats? If that place is humming, that really will help.
So, again, you can follow us on Twitter at District on Deck. Like us on Facebook. We got the Facebook page going. It's awesome. Yep.
Please do.
You can send it a like. You can also follow me on Twitter at Rickinator555. Follow Ron on Twitter, because sometimes we'll both tweet and we'll use our own accounts. So, Ron, how can they follow you?
At Ron Juckett.
Okay. We got a couple cool articles up right now. We're going to have the recap up in a little bit. Chris Lacey's working on that. Drew Douglas doing our 3 takeaways from opening day. You'll find that tomorrow. I'm going to try to do something on Stephen Strasburg, what I saw from him opening day. We also have ranking of the opening day rosters. So if you go back in the Nats history of their lineups, we go by total WAR, and we rank by the total number who had the best opening day lineup what year. I found a lot of interesting things in that one. So I think it's a good read, a good way to go back in the history. Who knows where this lineup might stack up with? Of course, maybe Drew for Rendon might make it lower in WAR, but I'm expecting this one to be one of the higher ones. Ron also wrote something on Joe Ross, as we mentioned, so you can check that out. We're going to be plugging these DoDcasts into our recap, reaction, post-game kind of things.
Right.
So when you read our takeaways from the night before, you will find the DoDcast in there as well in case you missed any of it live.
Absolutely. So go ahead.
All right, so for Ron Juckett, I'm Ricky Keeler. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of opening day baseball. And we'll see you back here on Wednesday night.
Good night.